Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Star Wars Squadrons. Yeah, developed by Motive. This is actually not a $60 AAA game, it's actually about a $40 one. And it's launched with a few issues. I myself have had a fun time with it. It's been alright. The controls, especially if you're doing a hottest flight stick, are kind of a hot mess. But my acceleration deceleration is not working. I kind of have to use this weird hybrid of keyboard and flight stick control at the same time. But it does work. I am getting the job done. Having a good time. I've done a couple hours on the single player, and then I've hopped into maybe about half a dozen multiplayer matches as well. The one big complaint, I haven't tested it out on my VR yet, but I do hear the VR is a hot mess. It is not very good. It is not set up. Probably that can change. Sitting at about 62% positive. So very mixed reviews so far. Only a couple hours in though. I do believe launch dates though. I have noticed in the multiplayer that I do believe other parts of the world got it fairly early, like I believe in Australia. I got it quite a while ago. One thing you'll notice in the multiplayer, because there are two currencies, because of course there are two currencies. Why would you not have two currencies in a game? No microtransactions in this one. So, hopefully, the companies have been pulling a lot of that. No, they won't have any microtransactions at launch, but then they'll sneak them in after the reviews are out. A lot of reviewers, a lot of the hype train has been praising this one so far, so kind of keep an open mind on this one. They always try to hype it up. But I myself, it has felt good. Probably took me a good 10 minutes to sort out the flight stick and the keys enough that I could actually get a working starfighter. But it does roll out, I would say, very decently, very decently. Graphically, good. The voice acting is good. The customization for your pilots in the single player campaign, even in the multiplayer, not great. Not a lot of customizations options on there. So if they do get some transactions on microtransactions, I'm not sure what they could do it unless they're kind of holding on to the good stuff. But the story is spoilers. Something bad does happen to Aldrin. Sorry to spoil that for you, but so far the story campaign very good. I'm gonna imagine it's pretty short. The typical, they do say you could play on both sides, but this is leaning heavy into the Republic because the good guys gotta win. So I don't think we'll be playing a ton of the Empire. Sadly, I do love a good Star Wars Battlefront 2 did have a lot of stuff, at least in the beginning. They were kind of pro-Empire, but then they switched later on. We never get a really good, if you remember the old X-Wing versus TIE Fighter games, especially the TIE Fighter campaign of old, that was phenomenal game. Phenomenal game, I really did love that. But let's get into, well, graphically, first let's start graphically. Very, very solid. I had no complaints on that. There are a lot of complaints on the VR. I will have to investigate that separately. But yeah, VR, you do VR, you gotta get it right. VR, you're spending about $1,000 on a headset. You want that thing to just rock. So I'm feeling they didn't quite get it right. But graphically, no complaints. Been running very solid. Initially when I did get in, the resolution, I have all 4K screens. The resolution was not quite right, so I only saw like half of the game. I eventually just kind of had to wiggle my way down there and change the graphic settings so everything was right. And like I said, it did take me about 10-15 minutes to get that hotkeyed right. Yeah, my acceleration and my deceleration on the flight stick still doesn't work. Yeah, I can't figure that one out for the life of me. But I've got a majority of the other stuff working. And you can kind of use a weird combination of WASD and your flight stick to get it done. But yeah, it is decent. I would say if you have it on EA Origins, it is probably coming to the Gamepass. So if you wait a little bit, I think it is a better option for you. Yeah, definitely probably a better option. Sound-wise, I do apologize. I do have this muted. We got some Witcher 3 Blood and Wine soundtrack in the background for you, but I just didn't want to get a strike. Because EA, they like to strike. I used to do some Star Wars, the Old Republic videos, and they didn't copyright claim them, copyright strike me. They just blocked me from like every single country. So that's the thing they like to do now, is just block your video entirely so no one ever sees it. So, but yeah, graphically wise, pretty good, solid frame rate. I haven't had an issue. I've seen a couple complaints about refresh rate on their monitors, etc. I haven't had a problem with that personally, but different components, different monitors can vary. And if you're using it on Steam, there might be some issues, of course, with that EA Plays login, because they kind of have like Origin Lite on those EA games. So I try to stay off of. If I'm gonna have to make a deal with the devil, I'll just use EA Origins. Which that one might be going on the buy if they're coming. If they really want to switch over to the. They still might have a skeleton thing on Origin though. Yeah, a little bit of tutorial on this. This is basically the first mission, not spoiling too much. Usually just teaching you how to scan, the basic stuff. This is kind of does feel like this, the first couple missions I've done, it's setting everything up for the multiplayer. Which the multiplayer, already a little bit of a hot issue, because I have discovered this when I got in. Because game releasing in different time zones. Since Australia's already had a good time to start getting this, and this is kind of in multiplayer. If you don't start in all the same footing, and I started going off against, you could tell I was a little biased because man, I was just getting hammered because they had upgrades. I did manage to finally, get through the couple of initial levels to get a few upgrades myself, so it did get better. But you're gonna be at a disadvantage in multiplayer unless you're cracking it at midnight here. If you hit the game in the morning, you're already going to kind of be outclassed. Though they have interesting components in this. That they just, all the components have different trade-offs. There are 2 currencies as you level up. You get 1 currency for your loadout stuff. And then you get Gloria, the 2nd currency, to unlock your customization. And all that looks, as far as I can tell, no microtransactions. But this is EA, but I think EA might not actually get on microtransactions on this one. I think the game's already looking like it is facing some backlash. And we all remember Star Wars Battlefront 2, which they ended actually fixing and making a good game later on. But by that point, nobody cared, because it was heavily, heavily broken in the beginning. Pay-to-win mechanics. No pay-to-win in here, but there is an issue of players getting it early, depending on the release date, getting ahead of the pack. But that will balance out eventually. Maybe have to give that a day or two. But then eventually it will start to even out. Because there's only so many components, so many loadouts you can have on each ship. So it will even out eventually. There's not massive amount of customization gear-wise. But again, definitely the first day is going to feel a little rough. But I think eventually it will pan out. And they do have ranked as well. Looks like they have some other challenges, rewards. A lot of customization stuff. But all in all, I think this is kind of going to be turning out to be a I think it's going to be fun for the single player story. Multiplayer, once you get everything, I think multiplayer is going to be hot. Maybe for about a month. And then it'll get that small cold following. Enough to get you the matches done. It is on multiple. I do believe it has at least some cross-play. I don't know from Origin versus Steam, etc. But at least on the PC side, console players will of course have just on their consoles. I don't know how far the cross-play goes, but I think you'll usually be able to get a match. Initially, it does take about 2 minutes to get into a match. So it's a little bit of wait time just because everybody's got to click ready. It can go a little faster. It gives you time to edit your loadout, etc. And then interesting enough, they do have emotes and other things that you can do while you're waiting in this little bit of a lobby. But often you're not waiting in that lobby very long. But overall, I would probably just initially give this maybe a 7 right off the bat. It does its job alright, but it is not going to wow me. It's going to be, once the single player story campaign done, you rank up in multiplayer. As far as you want to go, I don't feel like there's over, I would say, 20 hours of playtime. I don't feel like you could really get up unless you really love Star Wars TIE fighting, and the TIE fighters do feel really good. X-Wings feel decent as well. About to see some of my bad flying because, yeah, I don't have quite all the keys. At this point in the game, I don't have all the keys in. But I like to show off a little bit of derp. This is me rushing a bunch of turrets, and my flight stick buttons not doing what they're supposed to do. So initially I did spend 10 minutes fixing it up. But just make sure you really go through your hotas flight stick keybind changes before you even start the game. You will thank me for it. I heard a little bit of trouble with controller. I haven't tried it with controller, but I assume mouse and keyboard would probably operate alright enough. But so far, guys, I would think wait and see. Just wait for it to probably on the Game Pass if you do have the Game Pass. I think maybe around late October, sometime November, they are coming onto the Game Pass. So a little bit more of this is just a little bit of the multiplayer as well. But an enjoyable time. I would give it maybe give it a try if you do love Star Wars, you do love the story, got 40 bucks to spare. I would say okay. I don't think it's going to have a lot of longevity. Could be wrong on this one. Could be wrong. Hopefully they'll get some of the issues fixed, especially with VR. But I just want to show off a little bit of Star Wars Squadron, give you guys my thoughts over the last couple hours. I think it's alright time. I'm having a good time. I'll play through it. I probably will play the multiplayer for a little bit, but I don't think it's going to hold my attention for an insane amount of time. Alright, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button. This helps a lot. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.